All right, so if you've watched Erikson's stage 1 video, you're ready for this video. This stage is from 1 to 3. From 1 to 3, I mean, what are some of the things a child from 1 to 3 does? Well, in the US especially, we call it the terrible twos. Terrible two is a time when they have this little attitude with us. And if you know some of their favorite words during the terrible twos, they do start to develop language, right? And they get mobile. If you know some of their favorite words, if you've been around them very long, you know their favorite words are no, right? I mean, you ask them to do this, the simplest thing. You ask them to obey you and they look at you say no, right? And then mine. You take a bunch of 2-year-olds to a play group and all you're going to hear is mine, right? They're fighting over everything. Now that mine comes from this idea of egocentrism. Dude named Jean Piaget talked about this idea of egocentrism. Egocentrism is where we are the center of our own universe. We have a difficult time taking on anybody else's perspective because we are just the center of everything, right? And you know a 2-year-old, they have no regard to what mommy and daddy need or want. They want what they want and they want it right then, right? And then we have I do it. I do it. I remember this for my little boy. I am trying to get him ready for daycare one day. And generally I would kind of lay out some clothes for him and we would head off to daycare. I'd get him dressed and we'd head off to daycare. But that fated day I came in and he decided he's going to get himself dressed. He's around 3 years old, 2, 3 at that age. And I come in and he has got some like forest green shorts. And he's got them inside out, tag showing. I don't care. I'm just taking him to daycare. This is not a fashion show, all right? So I'm daddy, taking him to daycare. Who cares? However, he has chosen a light green top to wear with that. And, I mean, if he got all this on appropriately, he was going to look like a plate of guacamole. It was going to be terrible. But if you think about it, a shirt is a pretty complicated thing to get on. I mean, there are 4 holes, and you've got 4 body parts. I don't know how many body parts. They've got to get into these 4 holes, and they've got to do it in the right order. And if you don't do it in the right order, it can be really complicated. Or if you get the wrong body part in the wrong opening, it can be a really hard thing, right? And so I come in, and he is struggling in the floor to get that shirt on. I mean, he's battling. I realize at this point I'm probably going to be late for work. But, I realize this is his battle. He's developmentally got to do this. And so I walk off and I go work on his Pop-Tart and get that ready and come back a couple minutes later and I'm saying, hey, buddy, your breakfast is ready and we've got to get going. Daddy's got to get to work. Can I help you? Now, my little boy had taken his big melon of a head and he had wedged it into the sleeve of his shirt so it looks like this. And I say, Grayson, is there any way Daddy can help you? Can I please help you? And he looks at me and says, Daddy, I do it. And that's really sums up this developmental phase. It's called autonomy versus shame and doubt. Remember, every Erikson stage has a name. This one's autonomy versus shame and doubt. Well, what is autonomy? Autonomy is a fancy word for independence, okay? So he was wanting to be independent. He wanted to do it on his own. So I do it. You'll hear that I do it all the time. You'll hear no. You'll hear mine. They'll be exploring. They'll be moving around the house, being independent and doing that, realizing they're a separate being and they've got to do some things on their own. So you want them to develop some independence. Let's say your little boy was taking a ceramic mug and he was cracking it on your glass coffee table over and over. And you look at him and say, hey, stop that. He looks right at you and you know what he's going to say? No, right? Let's say you walk across the room and you slap him across the face. Well, the behaviorist would say that when we're punished, we stop doing a behavior. Not Erikson. Erikson is in fact going to say that if you did that, you might just declare war on that little 2-year-old. And there's the deal. They've got to have their independence. They're going to declare war back on you, and they're going to start taking their independence. And they'll do it in any way they can get it. What about their potty training? So maybe they start holding their bowel movements and they don't use the bathroom. Or maybe they get unsure of themselves with their potty training. This is one reason for developmental psychologists. Most of us are going to recommend that you do not physically or harshly discipline a child for potty training. Because when you do, it actually strips their control, and we want it to be a positive experience that actually gives them control. Now, what if mommy and daddy do every little thing for them? They say, I do it. And mommy and they say, no, I'm going to do it. Then they kind of develop this shamefulness and this doubt that they can do it. And so you're going to see that this shame and doubt kind of grows. And that's not something good because, again, it's going to haunt them in later development. So that is Autonomy versus Shame and Doubt by Erik Erikson.